A desolate alien wasteland. Sandstorms swirl around as a lone figure steps forward, tall, armored, and radiating lethal energy. A bounty hunter feared across the stars. Zyla exhaled slowly, adjusting the grip on her plasma blade. The moment she'd activated her bounty tracker, the coordinates had led her to this sorry excuse for a planet. The target? Some human smuggler named Nathan Vaughn. Her lips curled. Humans were weak, spineless creatures. This one had already been abandoned by his crew. The moment he saw her, he'd do what they all did, tremble, beg, and piss himself before she even lifted a finger. She took her time approaching, letting the tension build. Nathan Vaughn was sitting on a supply crate, idly flipping a metal coin between his fingers. When Zyla stepped into view, the wind kicked up around her, making her tattered black coat billow dramatically. Nathan barely looked up. Did he just sigh? Finally, he muttered. I was starting to think the terrifying bounty hunter was a no-show. Zyla narrowed her eyes. He had seen her, right? I assume you know who I am, she growled, voice dripping with the promise of violence. Nathan finally looked at her. Slowly. Lazily. His gaze flicked down, up, then settled on her face. He wasn't wide-eyed with fear. No stammering. No sweating. Just a smirk. Sweetheart, he drawled. You got a death stare sharper than your blades, but I've faced worse. Ever seen a human tax form? Zyla's fingers twitched on her blade. He was joking. Joking. The fact that his tone was effortlessly smug only made it worse. She stepped forward, letting her boots hit the ground harder, testing him, waiting for the flinch. Nathan didn't move. A slight warmth crawled up her spine. You don't seem to understand, she said, keeping her voice low, lethal. You're my bounty, human. That means. Let me guess. Nathan interrupted. You're gonna drag me in or bring me to justice? He twirled the coin between his fingers, then flicked it up, caught it without looking. Gotta say, you bounty hunter types are really into the whole capture thing. Kinda kinky, but hey, no judgment. Zyla's eye twitched. She took another step forward, so close she could see the flecks of green in his brown eyes. He still didn't flinch. You think this is a game? Nathan shrugged. I think you're used to people pissing themselves when you show up. Sorry to disappoint. Zyla sucked in a breath. This was not how this was supposed to go. Fine. She'd do this the hard way. She moved. Fast. A blur of black and violet armor. Before he could react, she grabbed his shirt and yanked him forward, slamming his back against the metal crate. The impact rattled through his body. Still. No. Flinch. Instead, he gave her an amused look. If you wanted to get handsy, you could have just asked. Zyla faltered. Just for a second. But that second was all it took for the warmth on her spine to slither lower. She tightened her grip. You are either impossibly stupid or suicidally cocky. Nathan exhaled, tilting his head. Or, crazy thought, maybe you're not as scary as you think you are. Zyla's muscles coiled, her teeth bared. This human was taunting her. And worse, something in his damn voice made it sound like he was enjoying this. Her mind raced for the fastest way to knock the smirk off his face. Then an idea clicked. A slow, cruel smile curved her lips. Let's test that theory. She spun him, twisting his arms behind his back, binding his wrists together with a flick of her restrained cuffs. Metal locked into place with a satisfying snap. Nathan's reaction? A low whistle. Wow. You move fast. He turned his head slightly, raising an eyebrow. This the part where you tell me I'm not going anywhere? Her eyes narrowed. Yes. Thought so. Gotta say, love the whole forceful take charge thing you got going on. Gives the whole bounty hunter shtick a fun little twist. Zyla stared at him. What the hell was happening? Most creatures screamed when she restrained them. Begged. Bargained. Nathan Vaughn was complimenting her. Her grip on his cuffs tightened. You think this is fun, human? He exhaled, voice light. Well, I mean, so far you've pinned me down, pressed me against a crate, and tied me up. I'm just saying, if you were a little less murder-why, I'd be kinda into this. Zyla stopped breathing. Her brain short-circuited. Did he? Was he implying? No. No, absolutely not. This was a bounty, not some ridiculous human mating ritual. She shoved him back, stepping away fast. She needed distance. Space. The heat in her veins had nothing to do with anything inappropriate. Nathan straightened, rolling his shoulders, testing the cuffs. His smirk had deepened. You look flustered. I am not flustered. Right. He took a slow step forward. Just out of curiosity, do all bounty hunters get this riled up over eye contact, or am I just special? Zyla hissed. You are insufferable. Nathan grinned. And yet still breathing. She hated that he had a point. She hated even more that his damn voice had a way of curling under her skin. Zyla sucked in a slow, controlled breath. No more games. No more taunts. She just had to get him off this planet, collect the bounty, and never see this maddening human again. You're coming with me, she bit out. Nathan gave her a lazy once-over, still smirking. Honey, I'd go anywhere with you. Zyla nearly threw him into orbit. Zyla dragged Nathan through the dust, her grip on his restraints firm, jaw clenched. The human should have been trembling, but instead, he walked beside her with an infuriating lack of concern, as if he were taking a casual stroll. Every now and then, he'd glance at her, and that damn smirk would creep back onto his lips. You know, Nathan said, tilting his head, I was expecting something a little more dramatic. Maybe a speech about how I'm at your mercy? No. Just straight to the hauling me like luggage part. Zyla's fingers twitched. You are at my mercy, he hummed. Doesn't feel like it. Before she could respond, he deliberately slowed his pace, forcing her to jerk him forward. His body collided against hers for a split second, and she felt the heat of his chest through her armor. He exhaled, low and warm against her cheek. See? Told you, he murmured. Kinda into this. Zyla shoved him forward, harder than necessary, ignoring the sudden tightness in her chest. Keep your mouth shut. Nathan grinned. Oh, so you like it when I don't talk? Well, that makes one of us. Her patience cracked. Do you ever stop? Not unless someone makes me. That was it. Zyla yanked him back again, spun him around, and slammed him against a metal pillar near her ship. Her forearm pinned him in place, her golden eyes burning with frustration. I don't think you understand what's happening here, human. You are captured. That means I decide what happens to you. Nathan exhaled. And what's the plan, exactly? You keep getting all up in my space, throwing me around like a rag doll, starting to feel like mixed signals, sweetheart. Zyla's throat went dry. The way he looked at her now, it wasn't just amusement. His eyes swept over her face, slow and assessing, like he was peeling back her layers without permission. Her instincts screamed at her to rip herself away, but her body refused to listen. She'd pinned down hundreds of targets before. Why did this feel different? Nathan's lips parted, voice dropping to a murmur. Go on. Do your worst. The words sent something dangerous down her spine. Her brain scrambled for control. She reached for her plasma blade, bringing it up to his throat, letting the edge hover just close enough for the heat to kiss his skin. You think I won't kill you? He didn't even blink. I think you'd have done it already. Zyla's pulse spiked. Damn it, he was right. She should have ended this the second he started playing games. Instead, she was standing here, chest tight, blade trembling ever so slightly in her grip. Nathan tilted his head, watching her with something almost smug. What's stopping you? Her grip tightened. She should have an answer. She didn't. Then he smirked. And that was it. Zyla pressed the button on her gauntlet, sending a pulse through his cuffs. He shuddered as a sharp jolt of electricity crackled through him, just enough to weaken his muscles, nothing lethal. Instead of gasping in pain, he moaned. A deep, rough sound, torn from his throat before he could stop it. Zyla froze. Nathan sucked in a breath, blinking fast. The hell was that? Oh no. Oh no, no, no. She stared at him, horrified. Nathan shifted slightly, rolling his shoulders as if testing something. Okay, I don't know what kind of weapons you got, but that was, different. He exhaled. Probably shouldn't have felt that in my spine. Zyla wanted to die. She was going to drag him into the sand and bury herself. Nathan flexed his wrists. Is that supposed to be torture? 'Cause I gotta say, you might want to turn it up a notch, sweetheart. Her entire body locked. This was her worst-case scenario. Her signature interrogation method, the technique that had broken war criminals and planetary rebels alike, had just done something entirely different to this damn human. Nathan grinned, wide and slow. Wanna try again? Zyla's composure cracked. She deactivated the cuffs immediately, shoving him away like he was on fire. You are the most insufferable. Nathan laughed. Actually laughed. Zyla was going to throw him into a black hole. She turned, fists clenched, trying to force herself to breathe. How had this gotten out of control so fast? She needed to remember her mission. This was about the bounty, not whatever deranged reaction this human was triggering in her. Nathan stretched lazily, rolling his shoulders. So you done trying to break me, or is this just a warm-up? Zyla pointed at him. Do not speak. Nathan raised his hands. Fine, fine. I'll behave. For now. The fact that she even believed him for a second meant she was losing her damn mind. She stormed toward her ship, making a silent vow. She would get this bounty. She would ignore the ridiculous things this human made her feel. And under no circumstances would she ever activate those damn cuffs again. Nathan watched as Zyla stormed ahead, the tension in her shoulders visible even through her sleek armor. He wasn't sure if she was mad at him, at herself, or at the universe in general. Whatever it was hilarious. She had thrown every intimidation trick in the book at him, pinning, threatening, even electrocuting, and nothing had worked the way she wanted. He had enjoyed it far too much, and judging by her flustered reaction, she knew it. Catching up to her, he tilted his head. So, are we at the part where I get locked up in some dark, ominous cell, or do I get special treatment? Zyla didn't look at him. You are going in the cargo hold. Nathan feigned offense. Not even first class? You're lucky I'm not dumping you in space. Ah, you do care. She exhaled sharply, hands flexing at her sides. He was getting to her. It was fun. Nathan leaned in slightly. You seem tense, sweetheart. You want to talk about it? Zyla stopped walking so suddenly that he nearly ran into her. She turned slowly, her golden eyes locking onto his with deadly focus. Do you ever shut up? Nathan smirked. Not really. The muscle in her jaw twitched. He was tempting fate, but something in the way she reacted made it so worth it. Zyla inhaled deeply, as if practicing restraint. Nathan grinned. If it helps, you can always tie me up again. Seems like you were into that. Her nostrils flared. You are not my type. Could have fooled me, he said, stepping just a fraction closer. For the first time, she stepped back. Bingo. Nathan folded his arms. Wow. First, you failed to break me, and now you're the one backing up? Rough day, huh? Zyla's fingers twitched like she was seconds from violence, but instead of lashing out, she gritted her teeth and turned away. I am going to finish this mission, collect my bounty, and forget you exist. Nathan chuckled. Gonna be hard, considering you technically claimed me already. She froze mid-step. Slowly, stiffly, she turned her head. What did you just say? Nathan grinned. Well, considering how your species works, staring someone down without breaking eye contact is a claim of dominance, right? Pretty sure you claimed me. Zyla blinked, the realization dawning on her in real time. Nathan let the silence stretch, savoring the way her expression shifted. Then he delivered the final blow. And if I remember correctly, I didn't flinch first. Zyla looked like she was about to self-destruct. You! She started, but no words followed. She opened her mouth, then closed it again, then made a strangled noise deep in her throat. Nathan was having way too much fun with this. That means you technically belong to me now, right? He flashed a grin. Don't worry, sweetheart. I'll be gentle. Zyla lunged. Nathan bolted, laughing as she chased him down the ramp to her ship. He barely made it inside before she grabbed him by the collar, slamming him against the wall. Enough, she hissed, her breath hot against his skin. Nathan arched an eyebrow. You sure? You look like you want to keep playing. Zyla's hands trembled where she held him. Whether it was from rage, frustration, or something else entirely, he couldn't tell. Her voice dropped lower. Dangerous. You are pushing your luck, human. Nathan leaned in slightly, just enough to feel the heat radiating off her. Yeah? And what happens when I push too far? Her pupils dilated. For one single moment, she didn't seem like the ruthless bounty hunter anymore. Just a woman caught between instinct and hesitation. Then she tore herself away, shoving him toward the cargo hold. Get in the damn cell. Nathan smirked as she stomped off. She could lock him up all she wanted. He had already won. Nathan sat in the dimly lit cargo hold, hands behind his head, grinning like he had just won the galactic lottery. Zyla had locked him up, sure, but there was a stiffness in her movements, a twitch in her eye that screamed frustration. And not just the annoyed bounty hunter kind of frustration. No, this was different. This was personal. She wanted him gone. Not just because he was her bounty, but because he had gotten under her skin. The door hissed open. Zyla stepped inside, arms crossed, glaring like she was considering strangling him or throwing him out of an airlock. Nathan flashed a lazy smile. Missed me already? Zyla's nostrils flared. You have no idea how close you are to death, human. He tilted his head. Ah, you remembered my species. That's progress. She exhaled sharply and took a step closer. We need to get one thing straight. Nathan leaned forward, smirk never fading. Go on. You belong to me, she said, voice low, measured. Nathan raised an eyebrow. Kind of forward, but I like where this is going. Zyla's jaw tightened. That's not. She cut herself off, exhaling through her teeth. I mean that I own you until I collect my bounty. He nodded. And yet, here we are, alone, with you telling me this in a very possessive tone. Her fingers tensed at her sides. Nathan grinned. You hesitated before, you know. Back on the ramp. If you really wanted to break me, you would have done it already. Zyla's lips parted slightly, but no words came. She looked like she was trying to process the accusation. He stepped closer, closing the space between them just enough to be noticeable. Or maybe, he murmured, you just don't want to admit that this isn't going the way you expected. Zyla's pupils dilated again. Bingo. She gritted her teeth. You think you've won some kind of game? Nathan shrugged. I think if I keep pushing, you'll either kill me or... Zyla grabbed his collar and yanked him forward, close enough for him to feel her breath. Nathan exhaled. Do something else entirely. For a moment, either of them moved. Zyla looked torn, like she was fighting some internal battle she wasn't prepared for. Then, in the worst possible timing, the ship's comm system crackled to life. A robotic voice announced, Incoming transmission from Galactic Enforcement. Payment for bounty has been transferred. Awaiting prisoner handover. Zyla's grip on his shirt tightened. Nathan smirked. That means you gotta let me go now, right? Her eyes flashed. No. Nathan raised an eyebrow. No? Zyla didn't say anything. Seconds ticked by. Then the realization hit him. Nathan grinned slowly. Wait a second. You don't want to turn me in, do you? She stepped back, visibly struggling with herself. Nathan laughed. Oh my God! I got to you, didn't I? Zyla snapped. Shut up. He didn't. I was just a job, right? A simple paycheck? She clenched her fists. I said shut up. Nathan tilted his head. You could have knocked me unconscious. Tied me up. Hell, you could have frozen me in carbonite. But instead, he gestured to himself, grinning. I'm still standing here, fully conscious, still getting under your skin. Zyla glared at him like she wanted to kill him, kiss him, or both. Nathan crossed his arms. Face it. You lost. Zyla inhaled sharply, like she was about to say something, but then the transmission crackled again. Awaiting prisoner handover. Stand by for confirmation. Nathan smirked. Time's up, sweetheart. What's it gonna be? Zyla looked at the comm panel. Then at him. Her fingers twitched. Then she did the unthinkable. She reached over and smashed the damn comm system with her fist. Nathan's grin widened. Oh, he breathed. I was not expecting that. Zyla exhaled heavily. Neither was I. Nathan chuckled. Guess this means you're stuck with me. Zyla groaned and shoved him toward the cockpit. Nathan laughed as she dragged him forward, his smirk never fading. This was so much better than getting turned in.